All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Liu. I'm back and a high school geography competitor, map designer, and also a YouTube creator who explores how maps shape the way we see the world. So today I'm thrilled to speak to you about Google Maps and specifically the Google Maps technical team to learn more about how the world's most used mapping system and platform works and where it's headed in the future. So yeah, before we dive in, could you introduce yourself and share your role on the Google Maps team?
Sure. I'm Ling. I'm a software engineer at Google,
Mhm.
and I've been at Google for 7 years.
Right.
In my first four, I'm part of Google Search, specifically Google Maps. And what
Cool.
I've been working on is actually, if you ever done Google travel queries, like searching
Oh
for a
yeah,
flight
yes.
or a hotel, you would have been running my code. So I specifically focused on the travel bookings for hotel. And yeah, I've been working on that for 4 years. I built a lot of machine learning classifiers,
Yeah.
whether a certain hotel is considered luxury, whether a certain hotel has free parking. So those are the type of work that I have been
Yeah, and
working
it's been
on.
pretty evident so far because we've seen from the growth of sixth grade to 12th grade, we've seen all these Google Maps new features get added overall over time. And
Yeah, certainly, right?
easy.
So the stuff I work on, we call that content. So you can have a hotel, and hotel has a
Right.
lot of amenities, and it has photos and reviews. So I was working on that in my first 4 years at Google.
Yes.
So right now I'm a part of Google Cloud. So what we
Oh,
do
that's
is we offer a lot of APIs for developers to
okay.
use a lot of our services to build their application. Something
Interesting.
that we also offer would be, say, if you want to build a travel app,
Mhm.
you can certainly use Google Maps. So we offer
Right.
APIs like that.
We've seen
So
and many APIs and use Google Maps as sort of like a base form or like a base map to base their own like sort of systems upon. I think that's really interesting. Here we can have like a public API, so library for maps in general.
yeah, we can certainly talk about that. But yeah, that's me. So 7 years at Google, first four working on consumer-facing map
Yes.
products, and then currently I'm working on more developer-facing APIs serving various use cases.
So right now, let's get into some more insightful questions about Google Maps and how it works. First, on the category of global data and user insights. So overall, Google Maps collects an incredible amount of anonymous location data, but also that reveals how people move around the planet. I think that's really interesting because they have, these algorithms that nobody really sees behind the scenes working on in Google Maps that recommend you certain places based on whatever your interests are. So now, on to the first question, which is global usage. So what can you share about overall usage of Google Maps? For example, which regions see the highest engagement and what global peak times stand out?
As you know, it's a billion plus products.
Yeah,
To say, where
yeah,
usage,
very
yeah, we don't need to talk about the specifics, but it's certainly what we aim to do is to have reliable data to
mhm,
serve users all around the world.
yes.
And in terms of peak time, because we serve users globally, as you follow the sun, you can
Yeah.
clearly see the user
Oh yeah,
traffic
the peak time.
going through, right? Like you can
Yeah, I
see
can obviously.
you
Yeah,
can see the traffic jams, right? The
right,
really
yeah,
crazy hours, commute hours across the globe as the sun shines.
right. And another interesting thing about this like global usage is which regions of the world, like in North America versus Europe, which regions see the highest engagement in Google Maps, like specifically, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
factors go into that.
Like when you say, maybe we can drill down a little bit more. When you say
Oh,
engagement, what does that mean? Is it just someone opening an app and then navigating to it,
I would
or
say like just using Google Maps in general, because we want to set a baseline that is pretty easy to access.
yeah, actually, you know what? In this case, there's the adoption is prevalent across
Oh,
both U.S. and Europe, and in Asia as well. Obviously, in Asian countries, Japan, as an example, will use Google Maps a lot more than some other markets like China, who has their own
yeah, there's a lot of
flavors of, like, they have a abundance of competitors there. But for, say, someone who's using the Western software, maybe who's from outside of China but wants to travel there, they might sometimes still use Google Maps. So there's nothing really surprising. Is really about because a lot of people use Google Maps in their home location. They might just use it during their travel as well.
That's true.
Even though there may be a better, more localized maps.
Right, especially in China. Because we see the interesting thing about China is that the satellite images do not align with the streets. You see buildings that are in the mountains.
Yeah,
that's really interesting thing about Google Maps in civilized countries. You might get banned for mentioning China, but
yeah, no, I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, if you look at some of the features that impresses me when I go back, is that it actually tells you not just the traffic light, locational traffic light, but say if you use the Gaode map, actually, I think most maps in China, they will tell you where the traffic lights are, but also what is the current status of traffic light.
That is really cool to see.
It's kind of amazing how they connect all of this with precision of real-time data, which is hey, in 5 seconds this thing is going to turn red, right?
Right. That's really all right. The second question was demographics, right, and different age groups and different habits. So, does Google Maps track which features are most popular with different age groups or specific user segments?
Yeah. So. Privacy is something that we hold paramount, and actually we don't really care that much about individual users.
Oh, it's fine.
But so when it comes to cohorts, we don't particularly develop features this way, demographics, but we do have a way to analyze it. And of course, those will be internal data. There's not much that I can discuss about here.
Yes, that's fine. Maybe the global data and user insights section does have a lot more
right, a lot of business data. Even things like who uses the most. I think these are interesting questions. Fairly certain there are a lot of product managers who will care about, hey, are there certain segments of users where they prefer another application than Google Maps? I actually don't know.
So these are the global data and user insights sections. So now I have accuracy onto that at Google Maps and how we deal with that. So accuracy is essentially everything for a navigation platform. This is more about data acquisition for Google Maps company as a whole rather than just who uses Google Maps. So this section more about that. The fourth question, or the third question, we have is on traffic data sources. So where does your real-time traffic information come from, and how do you combine inputs like user signals, sensors, and also historical patterns?
Yeah, I think this goes into implementation. So, I can only be at very high level. If you look at the ways Google can, the information that users have agreed to share, first, Google needs to know where you are in order to provide navigation to you. And because it's able to figure out using this data mass on how quickly each user should travel, that's how one of the ways to figure out the traffic there.
Also, essentially using different users to connect to each other?
No, the users don't necessarily connect to each other, but the user
locations
with their permission, then they send these aggregated statistics to Google. So it's not that Google says that, hey, Ling is traveling at this speed. Saying no. It's like at this segment, maybe this exit to the other one. What we have is essentially in this segment, most of the vehicle are traveling on this average speed.
Right. Yeah, that's great. So to the next question on timeliness, and so what systems ensure traffic updates that's the immediate and fastest possible and correct for delays in Google Maps? So how do you systemize that essentially?
Yeah, I think for traffic stuff, a lot of the real time is starting to touch secret sauce. So there isn't much I can share here.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Okay, we can move on. So yeah, are there any future technologies like predictive AI or even advanced sensor functions that Google Maps is exploring that you can make in the future to implement to make sure that your data is more precise?
I think the topic comes really two ends, right? The traffic data is one, but then when we talk about the accuracy, so there are very many types of data on maps. As an example, right, whether a restaurant opens on Sunday, that's also a very important data source to be accurate on, so that we don't go to a store that is closed when the map tells you that it's open. So when it comes to traffic data, the more traditional AI is already being used to predict, and this shows up in features that's available to all of us, which is, hey, not only we can figure out, say you want to go from from where you are to the mall right now.
Yeah.
You can even say, hey, next week, Wednesday, I want to leave at
Yes.
7 a.m. How long would it take for me to get there? So these are based on historical trips.
Right.
And so, we have Google has the data to train a model that help users approximate their trips.
Yes. So that's great. And we're just exploring these like maybe more new advanced technologies. Is there any that you're exploring to implement in the future? Or is that all?
Yeah, actually I've been out of the team for a long time. I'm fairly certain they are using if it's traffic specific, then I'm actually not sure.
I think we can
direction.
broaden it, just not like traffic, maybe some more.
Yeah, I
tools
mean, actually, a lot of the features that I'm very excited about that's been launched and it's being improved upon are a lot of the generative AI features. Very often, I pick a restaurant and then, say 2 years back, I would scroll through the
Yes.
reviews or maybe the top reviews, right? But now, very easily, you see a summarized review.
Yeah, that's really
Including
helpful.
what users like the best. Maybe the ambiance is great, or even they say, "Hey, this dish is mentioned a lot." So you will start to see a lot of that coming out because we are a powerhouse for generative AI, and there are actually a lot of product surfaces where it makes a lot of sense to consume all this data, both images and text, to provide the right insight for users.
Yeah, that's really important to like many users as a whole. Because when I really just see on Google Maps, it's really hard to scroll down and see all the options. That is kind of like to find the right one. And in the past, that's what we had, right?
Yeah,
and now it's like become way more convenient as a whole. So
yeah, it's I believe that we're still early. I agree with you because when there are 200 reviews, right? Some places have 2,000 reviews. I'm not going to read all of them. But the fact that we have the technology to summarize it and to highlight what's unique about it, I think that saves me time. So I love using that feature.
It's a great use of generative AI as well.
Yes.
Okay, now on to more of algorithmic challenges regarding urban mobility, but also regarding tourism and the hotel bookings and etc. So the context is that before Google Maps guides millions of users every day. Like millions of daily trips, whether it's on tour or just daily commutes, it eventually influences traffic flow, but also influences where people want to go. So here's the question. So how do you view Google Maps' responsibilities in helping cities reduce congestion?
Great question. I'm actually not credible at all to answer this.
Oh yeah. Or would you better frame it like, how would you view Google Maps' responsibility to help people guide to like restaurants and hotels?
Yeah. So actually on the first question, I will have to search to verify, but I understand that there are smart city initiatives that Google has worked with local officials and governments because, as you mentioned, Google has this amazing data set for academia and research, and of course, urban planning purposes. I do not recall the exact cities and the government that it has worked with, but I think, as different governments, I'm not sure what the collaboration model is, but if we were to search for it, things like smart city, I'm fairly certain there have been collaboration on how, the private side, Google has been helping the public sector on, how things could be better planned.
Right. So I think Google Maps has a great responsibility because it's like a interface that many people who is not like familiar with like traffic flow and geography. That's what I personally think. Google Maps is like a gateway to just like all these sort of world interesting things that you can have in data sections, but also just like as a just general convenience, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, what I really like about Google Maps is that it gets the job done for me. And I think this is really the user trust that has been accumulated over time, over years, even decades for you, because you use it a lot more. So I think it's the data quality, the reliability of the service that keeps you coming back to use this.
Okay, that's great. So now on to the next question, which is, to what extent do you integrate information from like municipal sources or official governmental sources like construction schedules or road closed feeds or which hotels they personally recommend or like something like that?
Actually, these are to me, these are two separate questions.
Oh yeah.
So things like road closure, things like building construction. So
Obviously,
there
we
is,
see a lot of that on Google Maps.
yeah. I mean, and the question becomes like, who's responsible for putting it on? So we know that it's actually a huge undertaking for Google to do it alone. So
Yeah.
Google provides a lot of tools and a lot of methods for different governments to supply that. In fact, Google allows users to specify this. If you are somewhere, you can submit suggestions like, hey, this road is closed for today.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have ever encountered road closure. Some of these road closure are provided by users, and that's, I think, a fantastic collaboration.
This is definitely like really system of user feedback that you guys implement, and that's really
Right. It's the same reason. It's like, hey, road closure, and we do this for restaurants and hotels as well.
Yeah.
Say a restaurant doesn't or has they have updated their operating hours, but they may not have necessarily updated their information on Google because it's hard, right? It's hard running a restaurant. You have a billion things to worry about. So what Google allows the users to do is to suggest edits. And that's also one of the ways to alleviate this responsibility to just the business owner. The business owner obviously can change this very easily, but the idea is we want to have multiple ways for people to keep the data fresh.
Yes, I agree. Okay, now on to the next question. This is actually a more of a technical question regarding both like Google like travel times in general. Because most people use Google not only just for like, there's definitely different demographic groups that use Google separately. So the first of all, I would say is using commute in their daily lives overall. Like basically just to, and they use to like avoid traffic, right? To like basically do that. And the second group is people who want to have leisure, like leisure, sport, and tourism. This is like a unit that is really important in Google Maps as well. And they use to find recommendations on where they should go. Regarding the first case, sometimes an algorithm might send drivers to like a side street with a stop sign that's actually almost impossible to exit during rush hours. So all these sort of like edge cases in the traffic predictions that sending you to like a randomly down a street that is not actually due to like an optimal way of routing traffic, because this might be due to like slow update times. But how do you currently model these like tricky intersections in order to capture this kind of intersection resistance more accurately?
Yeah, no, this is a great technical question. I'm curious as well. So I have not gotten the chance to work on the algorithm directly. So I do not know the details. But if I were to put my guessing hat on, I certainly think that a lot of these patterns can be captured using machine learning. I just do not know whether they are being used right now and to what degree it's actually helpful to the user at the end of the day. But details I'm not familiar with.
Okay, yes. So do you have any cases where you specifically are working on some sort of like these technical edge cases in regards to Google Maps?
Yeah, actually, there's one feature that I loved working on, incredibly interesting, where when we were trying to focus on localization of hotels in certain markets, and Japan became a super interesting market focus on that. So as you know, Japan has amazing hotels.
Yes.
I'm sure you and your dad is familiar with, because there's the ryokan and all of that stuff. But if you look at the filters, like all this specialized regional type hotel types, they don't show up.
And like we could apply that to more regions as well.
Right. So it became an interesting problem. It's like, first, how do we collect this data? And then the second problem is, once we collect it, how do we surface it? Right.
Yes.
Like, because different cultures, different markets has their own preferences. How much do we change? Like, should we have a mostly consistent user interaction as people are booking hotels across the world? Or should we change it by the different hotels that they want to book, depending on the country? Or should we change it by depending on where they are when they are searching for hotel? There is no one right answer. That's what made it so interesting to me. But through that exercise,
you can use.
But through that exercise, what I learned is that Japanese hotels are very, very delicate. They have very precise definitions on each category, and then they are meticulous about the details. And I love looking for Japanese hotels.
Exactly.
It's just it's just so amazing how much effort they put into the detail.
All right. So now to another case that is really interesting. So basically, what is the future direction of your platform and how you use it for certain other things other than just the two we mentioned earlier? So first of all, is what's next for these kind of crowdsourcing features in Google Maps?
Yeah. So because I don't work on the team anymore, I actually do not know what the roadmap is. But speaking broadly, what I believe should be the way would be to continue to work on data quality.
Right.
So data quality is a game that you don't finish. You continue playing, continue to get better. And I think the data quality game is going to be more and more important as we add on more AI and even more generative AI features, because all of these taking
AI
data
is everywhere now in every single program.
Yes, and AI is a garbage in, garbage out business. So whatever effort that we continue to put in to make the data quality very high, we will get compounding returns on that.
Yeah. Yes. All right. So now, like more questions, right? So there's beyond navigation as well. So are you planning for new tools other than for tourism or third-party developers to build apps on top of Google Maps? Because we've seen a lot of apps use Google Maps as one of their UI interfaces. Like when you select not only just like, Yelp, I don't know if Yelp uses it, correct me if I'm wrong, but something like that.
They used to. I think they use a different
way. They used to. Or any other applications, like maybe even some video games.
Uber, Lyft, right? Lyft.
Uber, Lyft, they have their kind of in their own
Pokemon Go, right? Like
Pokemon Go,
all of these applications rely on some sort of an app API.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see how, all of these applications, not Google Maps is not just within your like commute. It's within your Pokemon Go, within your leisure, right?
Yes. I mean,
all the displays, like there's all Google Maps. You can have like, your training routine, like your Strava, and that API is probably also taken from somewhere within Google Maps.
I think what's really exciting about this question is that even though I don't know what the answer is, on behalf of Google, but knowing that it's such a versatile API, we can just riff ideas, and I'm fairly certain there are developers building it. As an example, we talk about gaming, right? We talk about AR, which is, we live in a physical world, and it's very fun if you run to a place that you grew up in and realize there is a Pokemon there. I think that's a fantastic application. And as we have more devices that are, multimodal, all of these map APIs, they get to help users visualize the world differently. I believe that, us humans, we will continue to have the demand for physical world interaction. And we live in a very big world and a very small world, depending on how you define it. So I think this map API will proliferate, and the usage of it will continue to proliferate.
All right. So now onto more some, geography related stuff. So
the
geoeducation and Maps and Google Earth are also very popular teaching geography in class. So are there any initiatives to expand educational features of Google Maps?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do not know. But I see from entertainment, as you talk about this question, the first thing that comes to my mind is GeoGuessr, which I'm
obviously
fairly certain you are. It's a huge, vibrant community that uses map images to predict where they are. I think that will continue to thrive. Like I personally enjoy a lot of those competitions as I look at it. But to the exact extension of what's going to happen in the future, I'm not aware of the details.
You expand more on that in the future. Finally, this question is also very important. AI integration. With AI advancing so quickly, how do you see improving predictive routing or community feedback, crowdsourcing, or anything like that? Maybe just generalizing the data as a whole. So how do you think AI can improve Google Maps?
As I mentioned, I'm not close to the detail here. Not now, not ever. But what I know to be true is that, features like this have been AI powered for many, many years. I would say even a decade, perhaps more than a decade. And, Google is one of the first few players to make it amazing, right? So I do not see a reason for that trend to stop.
Right.
And I think we just have to wait and see what comes up, because things will only get better from this.
Right. So I think AI for me can be used as a tool to maybe, not just AI can be used as a tool to just like actually just collect the parts of Google Maps that are kind of like linked outside and just stitch them together, maybe help users be more convenient overall. As we said, AI summaries are very helpful for a lot of people. Even though we admit AI is not creative and does not come up with, sometimes the best solutions, AI is really great at coming up with like simple summaries that, on the face are really easy to read. Honestly, that's the direction that Google Google Maps can actually take into like
Yeah,
you know,
and
place-
I want to be very clear on 2 points. One is what you talked about. A lot of challenges and limitations.
yes.
That's true for today, and there's no reason to think that this is the bottleneck forever. The way I like to think about a lot of this new technology is that it's amazing in some places,
Yeah.
but sometimes it fails. But what we know for true is that this is the worst it's ever gonna be. So starting tomorrow, it'll get better. And I think the other part I want to emphasize on is we have a very mixed use of some called traditional AI, traditional machine learning, and then I think the other ones when you talk about summaries are the generative AI. Regardless of which AI technology we use, the user privacy,
User privacy is most important.
all of the procedures that we do, that's paramount. You have no idea actually how hard it is to even access these data legitimate. Sometimes most of these data are not accessible directly.
So it's really hard to just
the amount of obfuscation, aggregation, the anonymization is that all of that process are put in place before any of data is even accessible to a AI algorithm or even a developer. So the AI technology will continue to grow as we see. But because they will continue to proliferate, I think we will start to appreciate the data privacy more and more, because most features will be data driven.
Exactly. Data privacy is really important nowadays, because honestly, there's many more ways you can store data from essentially AI now. So it's actually one last thing before we go.
Yeah.
This additional question is, how would you deal with future challenges and maybe data privacy regarding Google Maps? Or is something like that? Yeah. Do you see any foreseeable challenges regarding that, or is data in the right hands?
I think that's a great question. Let me think a little bit. So when I think about generative AI, what it does is it lowers the cost of content creation.
Yeah.
And as we discussed, content means many things, right? Photos, reviews. I do see that technically it's possible to have more frequent fraudulent reviews because it's now easier to write.
Yes.
Easier to write the ones that look legit. And of course, maybe folks are gonna upload fraudulent information.
Yeah, right.
Like photos, right? So that's what jumps out to as it is easier to create data.
Especially, we've seen photo spears in the middle of China redirecting to an elementary school in the middle of the US. Some of those features are just really, especially kind of weird. All these fake data, it's kind of getting easier to add via AI, I think now. All of those.
Certainly, right? So I think authenticity.
It's definitely a challenge in the future.
It's gonna be magnitudes more challenging in the coming years, even decades.
Yes. Do you think there's any direct solutions to that so far, or we have to wait some time?
Certainly not a direct solution. I would like to believe that there's AI. We have fraudulent content.
Yes, that's
right. We have spam. Like humans, we can create that content as well. I view this as a cat and mouse. It's just warfare, unfortunately. Each side is going to try to outdo the other one. But
it's
nothing.
A persistent problem we've seen.
Yeah, it's a persistent problem, but nothing convinces me that it's unsolvable. Nothing so far, based on my observation, it convinces me that it's unsolvable to the degree it's going to deteriorate the entire application or the entire society. We will always figure out a way to make do.
So overall, thank you so much for sharing these insights. And it's really not just insightful, but really valuable to have someone with all these insights to see what we, behind the scenes work that we see to do on the applications that we use every day. So thank you for that.
Yeah, this has been fun, Eric. We really appreciate the questions. I found them very thoughtful. Unfortunately, you
couldn't answer all of them because
I couldn't answer actually most of them because most
the
of
data
them
security
I don't know. I've been
also,
away from that team for 3 years, so even if I share anything concrete, it's going to be outdated. So I really appreciate some of the questions that's more open-minded, so I can actually be more credible to imagine
we deviate
the future together.
Just so we can have more open-minded questions. I put some together as well. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. Yeah. I can feel passion and interest that you have in this technology. Hey, I use it. It's great.
Everyone uses it.
Meet another person who uses it, and we know that this is not the only option out there. So I'm a strong believer in market forces. So that means this category of applications will only get better.
Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share that you're personally excited for work on?
The maps we have talked about are mapping of physical worlds that you and I live in, right? Say if I go to Vancouver, I travel from the airport to Richmond.
Yes.
When I say that, everyone understands what that
Right.
what I'm curious about with the new wave of generative AI technology, we're going to have a lot more virtual worlds.
Oh, that's interesting to see it. Right.
What do the maps look like for those worlds?
Right. It's certainly interesting.
Yeah.
Like given maybe examples from like I'm not really sure, like your spaces for those like business spaces, maybe like
Yeah.
we have like a density map of airlines or something like that.
Yeah.
All those virtual worlds, I think we could definitely incorporate those into Google Maps as like a sub function, or even maybe in games, the way you describe that, like just basically, metaphysical interactions, right?
Or, I mean, that's why, like with one great idea, it's faster to build something that's brand new.
Yeah.
Instead of touching the decade-old application
Decade-old
that has billions of users to take care of. That's why there is the API side of things, right? Like you can certainly use the Google Map API, have your regular maps, but then overlay whatever interesting to you in your app.
Right.
So I think nowadays it is now cheaper and cheaper to build those.
And I think overall, it's really, to conclude on the metaphysical environment of mapping, I think that's where we should actually, something interesting that to leave the viewers to think about in the end. So overall, thank you so much for coming. And this has been Marcia's Eating Chocolate podcast. See you next episode.
All right. Thank you, Eric.
It's been a pleasure.